Chapter 20. Intrigue. Victor strolled through the grand halls of his Colorado fortress, his footsteps echoing off the high-vaulted ceilings, pausing occasionally to admire the opulent displays of wealth and power. Chandeliers hung heavily, their crystals shimmering in the soft, ambient light, and lavish tapestries adorned the walls alongside his other lifelong collection. Every artifact and every piece of art was a testament to the empire he'd built over the years. His chamber was equally impressive, a blend of modern technology and timeless luxury. As he settled into his plush chair, a screen came to life in front of him. The reports, freshly delivered by his Chinese allies, awaited his review. He began to sift through them, his smile growing wider with each video clip of the once powerful American cities, now in ruins. Their majestic skyscrapers crumbling, streets littered with debris, and the haunting echo of silence where there once was life. The might of the American military, both on land and sea, reduced to smoldering ashes and floating wreckage. Each clip was a ballet for his eyes, music to his ears. Victor leaned back, the weight of his memories pressing heavily on him. He recalled that fateful day when Oscar, his beloved father figure, had been taken from him. The image of American soldiers, their guns raised, their faces smeared with victory, and Oscar's lifeless body on the ground. The searing pain as one of their bullets struck his face. Each time he looked into the mirror, that very scar added fuel to his burning rage. It was that very rage that drove him, that very memory that kept his dream alive. The dream of a world where the Reich reigned supreme, and America, the behemoth that had once stood in its way, lay in ruins. Then there were traitors of the Reich, scientists that fled, and soldiers that gave up the fight, such as General Karl E. Karnik. Victor sat recalling the day Franz spoke of how he lost his arm. They sat in the dim light of his office as it painted long shadows over the furniture, and the two men sat opposite each other. Franz, a large man even in his later years, shifted uncomfortably in the high-backed leather chair, the empty sleeve of his suit pinned up where his right arm used to be. Victor, ever the composed patriarch, leaned back, a cigar in his hand, its tip glowing a fiery orange. Franz, once a powerful figure, now bore the signs of wear and tear from the battlefronts. Victor, with his deep-set eyes, lit another cigar, the ember briefly illuminating the room. Victor exhaled, the smoke swirling around them. Franz, I know you've seen some tough times. Franz glanced downwards, his memories casting a shadow over his face. Ah, Victor, it was very cold, very harsh. The Russians, they pushed and pushed. V tried to stand firm. V believed. V could take their land. A bitter smirk formed on Franz's lips. That coward Karnik. V were ready to hold the line against the Russians. But then, news came of a little village, needing protection. General Karl E. Karnik, he decided his men would go there. Franz's voice grew colder. He claimed he was, protecting the innocents. But we knew, he was running from the fight. Victor leaned in, intrigued. He left you alone against them? Franz nodded, frustration evident. Without his men, they were exposed. It was a massacre. At dawn they came, so many of them. Their shouts, their cries. It chilled my very soul. He paused, collecting himself. I saw a grenade close to our lines. Instinct. It took over. I tried to throw it back, but it went off too soon. Franz gestured to his missing arm, his voice filled with anguish. And what of Karnik? Victor inquired. Franz's eyes flashed with anger. He ran, left the village, left those people to suffer. And for what? Nothing. He left us, and he left them. Victor rose, pacing thoughtfully. Franz, Sie have always been a good friend and soldier. It's men like Karnik who tarnish our reputation. Franz met Victor's gaze, a hint of tears in his eyes. I wanted to serve, to protect, but him, he cared only for himself. Victor approached, placing a comforting hand on Franz's shoulder. What's done is done. Now, we look to the future. Franz exhaled deeply. Danke, Victor. Your words, they mean much. Victor nodded with a faint smile. We must ensure that men like Karnik are remembered for what they truly are. We cannot get vengeance on General Karnik, but we can his bloodline. In that dim room, two battle-hardened souls found understanding and solace, bound by the memories of a brutal past. Surrounded by remnants of his illustrious past and relics from wars long ago, he couldn't help but be engrossed in a series of old photos on his desk. They were pictures of General Karnik, his wife, their infant child and grandson, though not all together. The weight of these generations of vendetta weighed on him, a feud that had become his life's obsession. It wasn't merely about honor or revenge anymore. It had evolved into a testament of Victor's influence and power. With every passing year and every attempt on a Karnik's life, Victor's determination grew. The Karnik line seemed cursed, always ending up in situations that tested the limits of human endurance and resilience. Yet, they persevered. Victor remembered that fateful conversation with Franz. The pain and bitterness in Franz's voice as he recounted the betrayal of General Karnik and the incident where he lost his arm. A pledge was made that day, binding Victor in an oath of vengeance that had lasted decades. Franz's tales from the Russian front had always haunted Victor. But what nagged him most was how General Karnik, in his cowardice, had indirectly caused Franz's amputation. Victor had always believed in the might and solidarity of the German army, and betrayal from within was something he couldn't fathom. Shuffling through the photos, he saw an image of Karl Karnik Jr., the son of the general, in his U.S. Army uniform posing in Vietnam. His stern expression was the embodiment of a family legacy of military service and the challenges they faced. Next to it was a newspaper clipping of the same man's tragic end during a routine errand, another reminder of the Karnik line's consistent misfortune. Victor's connections ran deep into the heart of global intelligence and defense agencies. His influence ensured that no Karnik would ever find peace. Yet, Sergeant Karl Karnik was proving to be a different breed. He had managed to evade every trap Victor set, from battlefields to covert operations. It was almost as if fate had chosen Karl to be the culmination of the Karnik legacy, challenging Victor at every turn. Victor mused, "This boy is proving to be more trouble than his forefathers." He reached for his glass, taking a slow sip of the vintage cognac. "Perhaps it's time to change tactics," he murmured to himself, realizing that direct confrontations had failed. His mind began to churn with ideas, strategies, and plans. If he couldn't defeat Karl on the battlefield, he would have to find another way to draw him out and end the enduring Karnik legacy once and for all. He too will die," Victor thought as he perused through current intelligence of his master plan for revenge on all that have wronged him. The reports, the videos, they were just the beginning. His decade of planning was unfolding perfectly, and the world was yet to see the full wrath of Victor's revenge. The grandiose ambience of Victor's office and satisfaction gained by reports was momentarily eclipsed by Eckehard's entrance, his demeanor echoing that of his powerful lineage. The son of such an influential figure, he moved with confidence and purpose. "Ah, mein Sohn," Victor greeted without turning, his accent thick with German undertones. "Report. How goes our operation?" Eckehard paused for a split second, assessing his father's demeanor before replying. "We encountered a setback with the 138th, he began cautiously. "A portion of the tunnel and some supplies. They have been compromised." A dark shadow crossed Victor's face, his fingers tightening around the armrest of his chair. "Karnik!" he spat angrily. "I should have known better. That Karnik. I should have put him down when I had the chance." Maintaining his father's intense gaze, Eckehard spoke calmly but firmly. "Father, his escape was but a stroke of luck. But luck, it has its boundaries. Instead of using a vast force, which would only attract attention, I've sent out a specialized operator, one who knows it is a suicide mission but is proud to serve. Their sole objective? Eliminate Karnak. I've also taken an added measure of severing the link of Kansas City Terminal from the network. No need in allowing others access. Victor pondered on his son's words, his brow furrowing in thought. After a moment, he slowly nodded. Very well. We shall see how this plays out. But mark my words, Eckehard. Karnak must pay for his family's betrayal to the Reich. I will not allow him to evade us once again as he did with the drone attack years ago. As the wealth of Victor's office gleamed in the ambient light, Eckehard stepped forward, clutching a thick folder containing the latest reports he had gathered before returning to the Colorado fortress. Vater, Eckehard began, the German lilt heavy in his voice. Our progress to fortify the St. Louis entrance is on schedule. Victor, a cold smile playing on his lips, replied, On the Chinese? How are they faring? Eckehard's face darkened slightly. They are suffering heavy casualties. Local militias, gangs, and some unexpected resistances have pushed them hard. They are in desperate need of reinforcements. Victor leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. And they shall have it, he stated confidently. Our underground highway system will ensure it. Eckehard nodded, laying out the detailed schedules of equipment and personnel transports that would be coming up from Corpus Christi. It is poetic, isn't it? The Americans paying for their own downfall. All those taxpayer dollars secretly funneled into our project, and none of them suspected a thing. Victor chuckled. Ja, it would have taken decades to complete it through conventional means, but that scientist from California, his theory was brilliant. Yes, Eckehard interjected. A drill centered around a nuclear reactor. The idea itself was revolutionary. Victor's eyes gleamed with admiration as he spoke of the concept. Molten rock, forced into the fissures as we make our way through, leaving behind a perfect tunnel. Ingenious. Eckehard continued. The remnants cool and harden quickly, forming a solid, smooth tunnel lining. It's not just efficient fodder, it's beautiful. I marvel at its smooth surface each mile I travel. He added, thinking about the thousands of miles he had traveled throughout the underground network. Victor leaned forward, eyes locked onto his son's. The day we control this land is near, mien son, and it will be a victory not just for us, but for Oscar and for the Reich. Before standing up and walking toward a sunlit window, Victor sensed a subtle change in Eckehard. What are your thoughts, mein son? Victor gazed out the large window, the rocky snow-covered wastelands below a stark contrast to the rich room they stood in. The nuclear borer project was indeed a success, Eckehard. Vile America, they never saw it coming. We have created highways beneath their very feet. He turned, his sharp gaze settling on his son, who fiddled nervously with the cufflinks of his suit. Eckehard cleared his throat, trying to sound casual. Indeed, Vater. The tunnels are a masterpiece of engineering. By the way, I had an interesting encounter near where Guan Yin conducted her operations. Victor's eyebrows rose. Oh. It was a chance meeting with Sierra Squires, Eckehard started, choosing his words carefully, hoping his father wouldn't notice the undercurrent of fascination in his voice. Victor's eyes narrowed. The rebel sister? The one who's become quite the thorn in our side? Ja, that one. She overheard some of our conversation. She knows more than we'd like. Eckehard admitted, leaving out just how mesmerized he'd been by Sierra's actions. Victor studied his son closely, detecting the unspoken words. You sound intrigued by her, mein son. Eckehard hesitated for a split second. She is remarkable, but she's a potential asset, Vater. We can use her. Victor leaned in, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Or perhaps she could use you, Ja. Eckhard met his father's gaze, defiance flashing in his eyes for a moment. That will not happen. Victor sighed, pacing back and forth. I've always told you. From a young age, that women have been the true power in this world since the dawn of time. They have an uncanny ability to seduce men into doing their bidding. Wars have been waged, empires have fallen, all because of the whisper of a woman. Eckhard looked down, his fingers running through his dark hair. I understand, father. Do you? Victor stepped closer, the air between them thick with tension. Falling for a woman, especially one like Sierra, could be your downfall. You must keep your feelings in check. Eckhard lifted his head, a fire in his eyes. I am not falling for her, father, but I see potential in her, not as a lover, but as a tool, an instrument for our grand designs. Victor held Eckhard's gaze, searching for any hint of deceit. Remember, Eckhard, the greatest men have been brought down by their desires. Do not let Sierra become your Achilles' heel. With a final nod of understanding, Eckhard murmured, She won't. Victor placed a hand on his son's shoulder, his voice softening. Good. They have a world to reshape. Let's not get sidetracked. Eckhard, eager to divert attention from himself, glanced towards the other end of the room. There sat his younger brother, William, engrossed in a video game, blissfully oblivious to the world around him. Eckhard had never harbored any affection for William. He believed the boy was unworthy of sharing the same blood, much less the same SS bolts that adorned their uniforms. William, Eckhard sneered, his voice dripping with condescension. Would you like to head to the east with me? You could experience your video games in real life. He snickered, well aware that his dig would go unanswered. William, forever engrossed in his digital world, seemed impervious to his younger brother's mockery. Satisfied that he had retrained his father's thought to William, he left the room as his mind wandered back to Sierra. Victor's words rang in his ears, but there was something about her that he couldn't shake off as he readied himself to head back east.